Okay, so I think we'll get started, but as I say, we are taping this session, so everybody that has registered will get a copy so they can listen on demand and watch on demand, so that's good. But thanks everybody for the time today. This is the first in the series of Lunch and Learns. Over the next 8 weeks, we'll be doing various other Lunch and Learns on various topics that are pertinent to our situation as we find ourselves post-COVID. So today we're talking about commission on demand, and certainly I know yourself, Michael and Freddie. I think you know Freddie and Michael were on the first one that we did in May, just mid-May, before really everything started to get crazy. We introduced the subject, so it's not new to you guys, but anybody else that is just joining us, it will be new. So we're introducing the subject of commissioning on demand today. And certainly for you, Michael, and anybody that does know about commission on demand, it's a bit of an update on where we are 3 months down the line. So the contents today, we have the panel. I'll introduce the panel in a minute. We have just the usual housekeeping, the purpose, the definition of COD. We're going to look at the current climate and how things are really impacted and how things need to change for the new projects that are coming through. Some essential inputs into COD, and then what the future may look like. And then we're going to have a look at some actionable takeaways and some Q&A and some next steps. So here's the panel. There's two of us here. We've got Ricky. Ricky, can you just introduce yourself, please? See if I can unmute you. I think you can probably do that yourself, but. Can you unmute, Ricky?
Yeah, sorry, I thought I unmuted there. I guess we probably clicked mute and unmute at the same time. So
we did.
Yeah, I'm Ricky Argon. I'm the CEO of Rev1 Energy. My dad started Rev1 back in 2001, and I've taken over. So yeah.
Great. Okay, I'm Martin Canham. I'm the Chief Delivery Officer of Rev1, based here in Houston. So yeah. And now Nestor, who's our subject matter expert, he's fallen foul of the success of COD because he's actually on a project working in Qatar, although he's based in Houston. So he's been working throughout the night, and he's getting some rest at the moment. So we'll give him some rest on that. So yeah, this is the panel here. Just some housekeeping. As I said before, we are recording. We're going to aim for, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on the interaction. Usual things here at the menu bar, we can answer questions in 3 ways. One is there's a text area where you can type in conversation, and I can see all the conversations that are going on. There is a raise your hand, so please feel free to do just that, and then we can bring you in. Or alternatively, there's a Q&A at the end where we can have an open discussion, and there will be some handouts. We've got, since we last had the presentation, we have a commissioning on demand brochure now, and we've got some marketing literature as well. So we're a little bit more organized on the marketing side, so we can share those with you at the end of the day. Please feel free to take a look and share them with whoever. Okay, so again, going over the purpose, we're going to introduce the topic of COD again, what it is, how it works, and is this a credible strategy for large commissioning projects going forward. We're going to take a step back in the past and just have a look at how things were managed in the past. Then the impact of the current climate that we're facing. We all know what's happened over the last 4, 5, 6 months. How does that affect major projects going forward? And then we're looking at future strategies for commissioning. So is this something that could be a successful strategy for the major projects going forward? And then for people that are interested in this, there's some more steps and some further learning. So we can discuss that at the end. Okay, so the definition of COD is basically pay-as-you-go, talent, teams, and technology. So if you remember in the past, it was finding out about what the job is, working out what the estimates are, putting a team of people together, and then that team was basically on the project from feed all the way through to startup. This is slightly different. This is working out what the optimum team, talent and technology is going to be, and writing a series of estimates for just that scope, and putting that forward to the client. So this is pay as you go, talent, teams and technology. Looking back in time, the evolution of the commissioning strategy goes back many decades really, but in the 80s/90s, it was generally a activity that the operator did themselves. They had their own maintenance department, operations department, and then they had a hybrid of people from there that were focused on commissioning and startup. As time went on and people kind of retired, that skill set went. So in the 90s into the thousands, there was this kind of transition into an integrated team. It went from an integrated team onto more of an outsourcing with a CSU specialist contractor. And then certainly in the latter days, we've seen that scope of work going to the EPC contractors, and generally it's been EPCC as a commissioning strategy. And where there's been change has generally followed world events. So there we've got, certainly in the oil and gas industry, we had Piper Alpha, we had the 9/11, we had the Deepwater Horizon problem, and of course just recently we've had the COVID-19. So that's kind of a catalyst for change into the 2020s to say, okay, well, the thinking that got us to this point certainly won't get us to the next point. We're more focused on now productivity and value ROI for the client. So what does that look like? We think we've got the answer to that with COD. I don't know if anybody's got any sort of comments on that evolution of commissioning strategy in your opinion, in your sort of history, but that's how we see it anyway. And then the old slide here, which was floating around from the 80s, I guess, but as you can see, the definition's been copied and copied and copied many times, but the concept and the dialogue is still the same. Feed, detail and construction, extremely well defined, but generally when it gets to CSU, there was just a line, all the money had gone, all the time had gone, and we have to make some magic happen when we get to the CSU. COD is all about being proactive instead of being reactive and getting all this planned out properly. Current business environment, won't necessarily go through all this in detail because we did this in the first session, but we all know what's happened over the last 3 or 4 months. Back in May, there was 60 billion removed from the capex. Now that's more, it's in excess of 100 billion. Projects are on hold or cancelled, although there is talk of them coming back. A lot of jobs have been lost, but many jobs are coming back. Many companies have filed for Chapter 11, but some are coming back. And there was a great loss in confidence back in May, but some of that confidence is beginning to come back, and we do see some green shoots. So I don't know how that kind of lands with you in your particular scenarios, but certainly, we've gone through that whole, I would say, S-curve where we've gone from deep depression down to optimism, and we do now see some people taking it from interest into action now. So we do think that it's going to bounce back. Certainly, fourth quarter, first quarter of next year, we're going to be in a totally different environment. So now is the time to get all our strategies all honed, and we're ready for the big V, as it were, the big kickback. So moving on, this is the COD. This is the logo, and basically, what we have here is 3 elements of COD, and I'm going to bring Ricky into this as well. But essentially, the logo there stands for, of course, commissioning on demand, but certainly the middle O stands for optimization as well. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about an optimized process for optimized risk, optimized cost, and optimized value. Just get not too big, not too small, but just hitting the sweet spot. It's all about the shared vision and the strategic partnership. And Ricky, if you want to come in here and say a few words.
Definitely. I think the mechanics of optimization are really focused around partnership, and they're around planning. I think the way we can reduce our cost, our overall cost, is in proper planning. And in every sense of that term, you plan properly to start the project, you're much more fluid at the end of the project. Things flow much more smoothly. Much like in our experience, a lot of the work that we do is providing ad hoc resources to projects, wherein a lot of the times those positions can be planned for and pre-filled or pre-planned prior to finding out as a reactive strategy. So what we're trying to do is make it more of a proactive strategy and become more of a partner to the EPCs and operators, so that we can actually effectively provide the right cost, and through that reduce our overall expense to the project, because we know exactly what we're getting into when we first start through planning and optimization.
Yeah. So cost efficiency through COD, no costly overheads or burdens, no costly office space, and you only pay for the hours that you use. So we take that burden on, and we make sure that the costs are absolutely minimized for any particular scope of work. On the risk management side, we mitigate the risk down to a reasonable and practical level. And did you want to talk about there the shared risk and reward model, Ricky?
Sure. I think obviously one of the challenges that our clients find when we try and work together is that in their senses, commissioning companies don't take the risk because there's so much unknown in that commissioning segment because of all the cost overruns or time overruns that typically happen in projects. It's very hard to agree to a certain lump sum price or to any sort of finite financial requirement from a commissioning standpoint. So it further pushes the idea of let's plan for the end in mind, plan for what we can do for commissioning in the early stages of the project to help drive that transparency. And I think what we've come up with is a very strong risk sharing model, so that obviously commissioning companies can't take the entire burden, but we can share that risk so that there's a bit more partnership even on the risk side as well.
Sure. Good. And then value maximization. So risk management, value maximization, and cost efficiency. We're going to just dip into those a little bit here. So cost efficiency from the enterprise level. Again, we're just going to go over it again, but no costly overheads or burdens, no direct staff. We take all those staff on and use them, and we can actually share them against the different project portfolios that we've got here. So the idea is that we get continuity and we can move people from one project onto the next, so it works for the individuals as well. Benefits, shared services, travel, and IT, it all comes away from the client and it all comes into our camp. No costly office space. So again, during these times, there's many companies that have got massive real estate, I would say, problems at the moment. COD is an answer to that in terms of commissioning, and we take on all that. And of course, you only pay for the hours that you use via the estimates and the CTRs, the cost, time, and resources. So that's basically cost efficiency.
Can I just jump in there real quick, Mark?
Please, yeah.
I'd just like to point out that this is more of a strategy that's based on evolution. It's not a strategy that you can just wake up tomorrow and say, hey, I want to do commissioning on demand. It has to be born out of experience, and I think that's one of the value adds that Rev1 has, is that we've been around for 21 years, and from trial by fire, we've learned how to optimize our processes, who in the network that we have are the good people, minimize the risk from the people that may not know exactly what they're doing. So there's a lot of value that comes from a partner that has as many years as Rev1 has in the industry, both in power and oil and gas. So it's this strategy is more of an evolution. That's kind of how I've seen this evolve over the last probably 5 or 6 years. Is something that we wanted to do from just straight commissioning services support to a full service commissioning on demand strategy.
Value maximization, 3 areas really. Of course, it goes without saying, qualified and experienced personnel, early involvement, get involved early, focused on high productivity, zero rework. It's a great aspiration for sure, and using best industry safety practices, of course. So that goes without saying. You know, we use qualified and experienced personnel. They're all time trusted. Certainly, you know, we've got a long heritage of using, I would say, a loyal workforce. So we've got that to offer as well. Certainly, strong leadership and supervision, results orientated. Proper planning of the CSU activities, we mentioned that earlier. That's very key, and aimed at high performance team and managing all the interfaces with all the stakeholders. And then, of course, it's all underpinned by technology. So the state-of-the-art technology, you need real-time reporting, early indication of things that are going wrong, which gives us time to rectify things and no surprises at the end of the job. Again, optimized, everything optimized. All the people are, you know, the organization's optimized, the work processes are optimized, and that leads to a flexible, agile, and digital workforce and workflow. Risk management, just to go through this again, you know, it's a shared risk and reward model. Really about defining the success criteria. So for every job, for all the stakeholders, what does good look like? You know, what does success look like? I think that's the key to most of these projects moving forward. You know, getting that clearly identified up front, and then shared with everybody, and where does everybody play a part in bringing that to fruition. The direct costs and the overhead costs covered, and the profit element there is something that we've thought long and hard about. Can you come in here, Ricky, and share some thoughts on that profit?
Absolutely. So we've designed a project pricing model that really optimizes the overall cost to the clients, either EPC or operators. And essentially the idea is that we've kind of segmented 2 different populations of personnel. One is the pre-selected. So many times we have clients who already know who they want, or they have a team of people, or maybe they're internal and they want to bring them external, or however that works. They have that group of people that we can employ through Rev1 at a much lower margin to maximize the value for those individuals while still maintaining all the same levels of safety and same level of separability. You know, no co-employment issues or anything like that. And then on the search and selection side, we can provide the same level of support, same level of quality, all the network that we have. We can still do that at a different margin. So it really optimizes that two segregated groups to minimize the cost to the client. And on average, we see about a $2 an average decrease across the project, which, if you're thinking about a large scale project with several hundred people, you're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars in a commissioning. So,
yep. I think that's that attitude of flexibility and thinking outside the box and really providing maximum value to the clients at a minimum cost. That's kind of the key to the fundamental sort of strategy of COD. Yeah, and then really the contracting strategy options. very flexible. It can be any one of these really. So it could be EPCC. It could work in the EPC arena, or it could work just as a CSU specialist contractor, or in fact for the operator as well. So very flexible. And as I say, we've had some early success since our first lunch and learn on the subject. We've been extremely busy with this, rolling it out to our clients, and we've had some great early success. So we think we're onto a good strategy for the future. Now, part of COD is this thing we call the vertical stack, which you'll see on the left-hand side. So what this is part of the workflow optimization process. So during commissioning, we worked out everything that we need typically to complete the CSU activity from start to finish. So as you can see there's planning and preparation. We then get into the area of chemical cleaning with steam blowings and all the pre-com cleaning. The commission execution piece, all the software, the operator training, the HR and logistics, and things like flange management and test equipment. We've put all those into what we call the vertical stack. So what we've done with this is we've been out and we did kind of a beauty contest. We found out who's the best in the game. We didn't really want to do all this ourselves. So there's the specialists that do this. We've gone out to those people, and we've got teaming agreements, strategic alliances with the team, as we call it. So we can do all, we don't have to go out and worry about who's going to do the pre-com cleaning. We've got that all up front. So we offer the vertical stack now to the clients, and the benefits are they only pay, the benefits are on the right-hand side, but basically it's one invoice every month for commissioning, all the commissioning services. That's the planning, the preparation, the ancillary services, the execution, just one invoice every month, and it's all kind of optimized. So just running through the benefits there, they only pay for the work that's carried out, no costly overheads, the one contract, the one invoice, the vertically integrated CSU services, optimum cost model, optimum delivery model. Because that, although we've optimized all the costs, we've also taken a hard look at the actual workflows and digitize those processes into our tracker technologies as well. So the word optimum is very key to this presentation. And what that does is it creates an environment for, I would say, high achievement and best practice. So that gets built back into the delivery process. And of course, if we do all the above, and we're a long way down the line now of actually proving this on a few projects, what that does is give the operator confidence, and it increases not only their market share but our market share as well. So it's a winning strategy. I don't know if there's any questions at this point. If not, we can kind of move on. Oh, we've got a hand up. Well done, Freddie. Thank you. You could unmute yourself.
Good morning. How you guys doing? Afternoon.
It's very good to speak to you again, Freddie.
It's a great concept and everything. The question I have, and I just run into it recently doing a consulting job for somebody. The subcontract, do you have the authorization to sub a sub?
Right. Yeah, because we go into this. If you go back to the model, one of the first elements at the top of the model there is just the shared vision. So we go into this early days. If we go in halfway through a project, like typically we're called in, we can't really do this. But if we go in really early, as we've done on a couple of projects, we do get that agreed up front.
Okay, that's the teaming agreement. That's I guess what I'm referring to. As you well know, you're going to have a lot of your clients call you at the 11th hour.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This is going to take a few iterations around the project life cycle to get in at the front. Yeah. If it's anything past 60%, you're not going to get the full benefits, I would say, Freddie.
Right. Okay.
Can you just elaborate on that one? The one example that you've got there, what happened on that example?
I went in to do a go-live review on a decommissioning of a project,
Right.
and they had not looked at the cleaning and proper layout, but they had set up with your competitors that they were the sole source and they could not sub it out to get it clean. So they had to go and set up a partnering agreement, and the exposure, it got ugly, and it's still ongoing on right now because you didn't call me. It was not you. It's not in my scope. So, you know, the scope definition, as you mentioned earlier, the planning and preparation, it has to be up front. But when you get called on an item like that, and the blue company decides, no, you cannot sub it out, you have to partner it. Now
Right.
you're putting yourself at risk with that company. And let's say it's your cleaning company that don't want to partner with you, even though you have a teaming agreement.
Mhm.
So that's something that I run into here. I'm doing a collide review here just recently.
Very pertinent. Ricky?
Well, I would say that so we have two partners in chemical cleaning, and they specialize in two different areas really. So we can pivot quite a bit within that space. Obviously, there's some very standard things that are done, but there's also very specialized areas of chemical cleaning. So we wanted to make sure we covered all of our bases in that framework. And both companies have been around for more than 20 years. So I mean, I would never say that it never happened, but I would say we've worked with them quite a bit in the past, and I would be very confident in saying that, in our teaming agreement, they basically said, anytime you need us, we're here. So
Yeah.
I know that's always rules are meant to be broken, but yeah, that's the idea.
Right, and I understand that because if they're not in that bid list, that's what happened on this company here. They were not on the bid list, or
Yeah.
so you got a lot of the unknowns.
For sure.
Absolutely. But the good thing about this, Freddie, is that vertical stack is all signed, sealed, agreed before we even bid. So, we know we're going into the clients knowing that these are known quantities for these areas, although we're like the prime contractor, if you like, but all the contractual arrangements are all sorted out before we go into COD with the vertical stack. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks for that, Freddie.
No, thank you.
Ready?
Okay. Anybody else? Michael, how have you been doing since our last lunch and learn? Have you had any thoughts on this at all? Do you want to come in at all? You're okay. He's on a call, maybe. Okay, so let's just move on. So basically, just to recap, I think we've gone over it in some detail here. We've gone over the concept. I think people have hopefully got a good idea of the concept now. We've gone over how it was managed in the past, the current climate, how it affects projects going forward, and the need for change. Everything's been disrupted at the moment. It's now a phenomenal time to break the old models of the past that we couldn't necessarily influence, or we tried to influence, but there was so much resistance. Now it's a whiteboard, and we can redesign things for the best, for the best process for the client, essentially. And then we've looked at the future. Had a good discussion there with Freddie on the vertical stack and how that could affect projects going forward. And some next steps for those who are interested. What we've got at the end of the presentation here, we've got the marketing information that we can share with you. The actionable takeaways really are to, I suppose, thought-provoking. Revisit your current contracting strategy and risk strategy, and having this knowledge on COD now, could you see that happening on the projects that you're dealing with? And is it really an opportunity where we can discuss things a bit more specifically on certain projects? So I don't know if there's any questions, but any further questions, but certainly when we distribute the slides and distribute the tape of this lunch and learn, there's a link there to the commissioning on demand brochure for anybody that wants to have a look in a bit more detail and maybe share it out. The 6 steps really just summarizing to COD. One is the NDA and coming up with a scope document of exactly what the project is, the shared objectives. From those deliverables from 1 and 2, we've got a well-defined COD toolbox now, which is more or less a estimating tool with all the elements of the vertical stack in there. And the deliverable from that is a really solid estimate, which is then used for the MSA as a defined scope of work. We then define the success criteria and then issue the CTRs and execute COD. That's the basic process. Okay, so as we say, this was the first in a series of lunch and learns. Just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about next week. We've got Tracker Technologies. So Tracker Technologies is our technology branch, obviously, that looks after digitized work processes for integrity management. And with two or three really good packages there that we want to share with everybody. And next week is going to be an overview, but then we're going to have a deeper dive into the 3 packages, which are facilities readiness. Tracker Prep is our facilities readiness tool, which basically prepares the operator for ultimate ownership of the plant and asset at the end of the day. September the 3rd, we're looking at Tracker Check, which is our flagship kind of CMS, our commissioning management system. We're going to have a deep dive into that. We've got some really unique features that we want to share. And then on September the 10th, we're going to have a look at Tracker Run, which is our maintenance management system, and open the hood and let you have a look inside of there. We're looking at the vertical integration on September the 17th, which is more of an in-depth view of the vertical stack. And we can probably go into a few of those areas that Freddie was talking about in a bit more detail on September the 17th. And then pre-commissioning, what does that look like for going forward on September the 24th? And we'll have representatives from our pre-commissioning section of the vertical stack here to talk about that. And then October the 1st, value maximization and the final overview. So this is just a forum, guys, just that we can debate and share our thinking on where the industry is going for the future on the next generation of major projects going forward. So if this has been of some use and you like these kind of formats and debate, we're exhibitors and we're actually sponsors of CPS 2020, which is the Commissioning Professional Society kind of event of the year. It's happening on October the 2nd. It's virtual this year. It's going to be extremely exciting. It's open to the world now. The last few events have been, sort of physical in Houston here, but now we're purely global. It's going to be totally interactive. We've got a great day planned. So if you are interested, please join us. If you click the link there, which we'll share, you go to the website and you can find out who's going to be speaking on the day and all the exhibitors and who's our sponsors, etc. So yeah, mark it in your diary, please. October the 2nd. Okay, so we've come to the end. Let's just have a quick time check. So yeah, 36 minutes. Again, it's time to wash up. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your questions there. And we will follow up. We'll send everybody a copy of this recording. And then if there's any questions to anybody that's watching remotely, we'll leave an email for you to send the questions in, and then we'll certainly get back to you. But thank you again. Any last sort of words from you, Ricky?
No, I just want to say thank you. And if this was of value, please do spread the word and we'd be more than happy to have more than anybody that wants to join. It'd be great to have the conversation, just build the conversation up.
Absolutely. And also, if it's corporate specific as well, we could come in and just do a tailor-made lunch and learn on COD for corporations as well. So thanks again for your time, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Many thanks.
Much.